Good evening, everybody. It's John here from Tutor to You, welcoming you along to the first in our series of revision blasts for A-level economics. I say the first this academic year. We've got about 2 months or so of revision blasts we're going to do every Tuesday evening over the next 7 to 8 weeks, where we're going to be concentrating on topics that we're hoping you've covered as part of your first year A-level, year 12, whatever you call it at your school. So tonight we're going to start with demand and supply, and generally what we do in these events, these live streams, is to do about 30 minutes or so of fairly quick, fast-paced activities trying to test your knowledge, understanding, and a little bit of analysis and evaluation as we go along. Now, I'm joined tonight by the very great and the very good. I have with me Geoff in the middle of the screen and Nikki on the right-hand side. Good evening, both.
Good evening.
Hi, Nikki. Hi, John.
Hello there, Geoff. Hello, Nikki. Right, I think we might be ready to get going. Just a quick reminder to you, please do feel free to join in with the answers to some of these questions using the chat window if you have that capability in front of you. Brilliant stuff. I'll hand over to Geoff to get us started.
Okay, thanks, John. Hi, everybody. Welcome to our autumn series of revision live streams. And if you want to contribute a question or an answer, a comment, then you just need to subscribe to the YouTube channel. Then you can do that. Here's our first multiple choice question. The diagram below shows the demand for home deliveries from a well-known pizza restaurant. I won't give the name of the restaurant away. Shift of the demand from D1 to D2 is an increase in demand, as you can see there. Now, there are 4 causes shown there. This could have been caused by all of the following, except one of them. So if you can post in the chat window, give a shout out to those people who get the right answers. And what do we think? Which one of those 4 factors would not explain the outward shift in demand? Toby's in quickly with A and Keris with A. A couple of people saying D on this one. Which of these factors would not This has been caused by all the following except. So you're looking for the odd one out in this one. And what do we think? Okay. People saying B. A lot of people here saying D, interestingly. Give you a few more seconds. The demand curve has shifted out from D1 to D2. So we're looking for a factor that would not have caused that. Okay. So what do we think on this one? More people have gone for D than for A. Well, let's check the answer. Here it comes up. It is in fact A. I'll come back to A in a second, everybody. An increase in income, well, assuming the demand for pizza has a positive income elasticity, that's going to shift demand curve out, isn't it? A rise in the price of other home delivery meals, substitutes. If the price of substitute goes up, we'll cover that tonight. That causes a shift in demand. And a change in taste and preferences towards pizza will increase demand. The key point here, isn't it, is that a fall in the price of pizza built into the delivery factor is a fall in the price of the product itself. And of course, when the price of the product itself changes, you move down a demand curve. It doesn't cause a shift in the demand curve. Let's move on to question number 2, which of the following best describes the relationship between the demand for air travel and the demand for airline pilots. 4 demand concepts in front of you here: composite demand, joint demand, derived demand, complementary demand. What do we think for question 2 as the answers come through? So a lot of people saying complementary demand. Mary thinks it's B, joint demand. Joshua thinks it's D. Hannah thinks it's D. A lot of people here thinking it's D. Nico's gone for C, derived demand. So what if we give a few more seconds for people here? Big spread of answers on this one, so this would be worth looking at. The demand for air travel and the demand for airline pilots. Okay, Ben thinks it's either B or D, or A. And here's the right answer. The right answer is C. So congratulations, Nico got it right. Well done to him. The derived demand is the idea of the demand for factor inputs linked to demand for final product for goods and services. So as more people fly, in theory, airlines have to put on more services and they therefore have to employ more airline pilots. It's not quite complementary demand. It's not quite joint demand. The more specific concept, the best answer, is derived demand, where the demand for an input, a component part, an occupation, depends on the demand for the final good or service that they're being used or employed to provide. So the answer there was C. Question number 3. Like this question, the diagram shows the market for e-scooters. Again, which one of the following would cause a shift in the supply curve from S1 to S2? It shifted outwards, isn't it? So you have to interpret which one of the following factors there would have caused an outward shift in the supply curve of e-scooters. What do we think for this one? We've got an increase in the cost of raw materials, a new regulation requiring riders to wear helmets, a reduction in VAT on e-scooters, new tariffs, import taxes on materials used by firms in the e-scooter industry. So a lot of people saying C. Harry and Bethany and Keris and Joshua have all come in with C. Megan and David, I think you're right. Let's check the answer. It is indeed C. A fall in VAT. The European Union actually brought down the VAT rate in member countries for electric scooters. I'm not sure what's happened in the UK. Causes a pivotal outward shift in the supply curve, as you can see. Question 4 coming up. Other things being the same, ceteris paribus, other things remaining equal, a fall in the productivity of labour will do what? So again, A, B, C, and D. Fall in the productivity of labour will cause what? An extension in supply, a contraction in supply, an increase in supply, a decrease in supply. What do we think the answer is for question 4? Zach's gone for D. Sheila and Nico and Toby, Bethany and Pete and Keris all agree. They think it's D. A couple of people think it might be B, a contraction in supply. Livy's Life thinks it's B. Ruben thinks it's D. Let's check the answer. It is indeed D. Now, contraction in supply is when you have a rise in the price of the good itself. A fall in productivity is going to cause a rise in the unit cost of production, and an increase in the unit cost of production as efficiency goes down will cause an inward shift in supply, a decrease in supply. Here we go. Last question for me. A government report states that the average price of British steel has fallen by 10% in the last year. And the quantity bought and sold has also fallen by 4%. So the price of British steel has come down by 10%. The quantity bought and sold in equilibrium has fallen by 4%. Now, which of the statements there can be correctly inferred from this data? So what has happened to either the demand or the supply of steel if steel prices have fallen and the quantity bought and sold have gone down? The key to this, everybody, is to try to visualize this or map it out, sketch it out on a supply and demand diagram. What do we think here? Zach's gone for C. Bethany's gone for C. A couple of people gone for, they think, B or D, suggesting there's been a shift in the supply of steel. Here's the answer coming up. It is, in fact, indeed C. For the price to have gone down and for the quantity bought and sold to have fallen, there must have been an inward shift in the demand curve for steel. And you can maybe take a moment after this session to try and visualize that using a supply and demand diagram. Okay, well done on those. Over to Nikki.
Right, so time for some exam gold. So what I'm going to be doing is actually going to be building on everything Geoff is saying and just consolidating some of that. So there were some really important questions that he covered there, and let's just make sure we've got it all right in our minds. So our exam gold, the most common error students is using the wrong terminology when discussing movements and shifts in demand and supply curves. And that flags up errors to examiners. So be careful. We need to be careful to get this absolutely right. Okay, let's have a look. So first of all, we've got a demand diagram. So notice it's just demand. We've got price of coffee, quantity demanded of coffee. That's fine on the x-axis if you've only got a demand curve, but be careful of writing quantity demanded if you're putting supply on there as well. Point to note. Okay, so what we've got going on in this diagram is the price changing. And as Geoff said earlier, if the price changes, it causes a movement along the existing demand curve. So if we have a rise in price from P1 to P2, then we have a contraction in quantity demanded. Please be careful with that because students often just say we have a contraction. No, we have a contraction in quantity demanded. Be careful to finish the sentence. If price falls, we have a extension in quantity demanded. So let's have a look at the next slide to get our terminology right here. So we're still on price of coffee, quantity of coffee. Here we've got the entire demand curve shifting. So here from D1 to D3, we have an increase in demand. And from D1 to D2, a decrease in demand. So this is something other than price that's causing the entire demand curve to shift. And so you need to know what's called the determinants of demand to know what shifts your demand curve, whether it's right or left. Okay, with supply, applying it to supply, it's very similar. So in the first diagram on the left, we have an extension in quantity supplied due to price rising from P1 to P2, or a contraction in quantity supplied from price P1 to P3. But if the entire supply curve shifts, S1 to S3 is a decrease in supply, and S1 to S2 is an increase in supply. It means at every price, the entire supply curve shifts. Absolutely crucial you get your terminology right. Okay, let's practice those a little bit more. We're going to do some true or false. So these emojis, what we're looking for in the chat box is happy smiley face if you think the statement is true, or a frown if you think the statement is false. So let's go with the first question. A higher price for smartwatches will lead to an extension in quantity demanded. What do you think? Do we think it's a happy smiley face? Ruben thinks it's a happy smiley face, but Bethany thinks it's not. Olivia thinks it's not. Joshua thinks definitely very sad there. Annie Bassie says no. Amy says no. Let's have a look, please, John. What do we think the answer is? It's wrong. It's false. It's a frown because higher prices lead to a contraction in quantity demanded. So well done those that were listening. Well done those that got it right. Let's have a look at the next one. An increase in the use of TV advertising will lead to an extension in the quantity demanded for a lifestyle magazine. So we got increase in TV advertising. What do we think there? So Annie saying no, Ben saying no, Alia saying right. What else have we got? Keris is saying definitely true. Bethany saying true. Tiffany saying false. So let's have a look, John. What do we think? We want an increase in TV advertising will lead to an increase in demand. So the entire demand curve will shift to the right. So if you're not getting these quite right, you need to go back, revisit some of that early stuff. If you're in upper sixth, looking at the early stuff from this time last year when you were looking at demand and supply. Okay. Next question. A fall or depreciation. You might not have got this far yet, but bear with us. I'm sure you can work this out. A depreciation in the exchange rate causes an increase in the prices of imported components and raw materials. Is the statement true or false? A depreciation in the exchange rate causes an increase in the price of imported raw materials. Anna's not sure. Hannah says true. Daniel says true. Nico says true. What else have we got? Giles says true. Sheila's definitely on board. So Anna's still a bit worried. Let's have a look and see. So the answer is true. What the common error is here is that students often say that a fall in the exchange rate will lead to a decrease in the supply of imported components. That's not true. Okay, well done indeed. I am going to have
Back to me.
over.
Yeah, back to me. And I love the bubble quiz. I can't wait for this. I've got 3 questions for you. Now, I'm going to pose a question, and there could be, well, I will give you 4 answers. How many of the answers are correct? It could be 1, 2, 3, 4, or none of them could be correct. Post your answers in the chat window. Let's see if you can get all 3 bubble quiz questions right. And these questions are all to do with elasticity. So here we go. Which of these statements about cross price or cross elasticity of demand is correct? What do we think here? Just post the letters of the answers that you think are correct. If XD is greater than 0, the goods are substitutes. If XD is 0, the goods are strongly related. If XD is 0, the goods are unrelated. If XD is less than 0, the goods are complements. What do we think here? We're looking for the answers. Can you find the number of correct answers and the letters? Joshua has gone for A and C. What have we got here coming through? Mary, A and D. Ruben says, I haven't learned this yet. Oh God, I'm stressing. Don't worry about it. It's early days in the year 12 course. Don't worry, this is just elasticity. Comes up pretty soon, I think. Daniel says A and D, he thinks are correct. And we do have a correct answer. Pete, I think, and Keris have been our first correct answers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but here we go. Here's the answer coming up. A, C, and D. Yeah. So substitutes. If the price of Coca-Cola goes up, the demand for Dr. Pepper goes up because people switch, called the substitution effect. Positive cross-price elasticity. If XCD is 0, that means there's no relationship between 2 goods. If you've got a moment, you might want to type into the chat window 2 products that have no price demand relationship. Can you think of 2 completely unrelated goods or services? Often quite a good idea to see what we can come up with. But when you have a value of 0, there's no relationship. That means that B is wrong. And a negative cross price elasticity is reflective of two complements. Goods where there's joint demand. If the price of one good goes down, you buy more of that good and you buy more of something else. Amy says toothpaste and sofas. Mary says tennis rackets and chocolate. Daniel, Keteras, Powerbus and loss averse. You are obviously on a different level, Daniel, to everybody else. Yeah, some good answers there. Some good answers. Cross-price elasticity, the response of the demand for one good in response to changing the price of another good. Right, I love question 2. This one's tricky. Okay, in the long run, price elasticity of supply is normally higher than in the short run. That's true, actually. But which of the following factors help explain this difference? So why is it, for example, the elasticity of supply of housing in the news at the moment, or e-bikes, whatever it is, renewable energy, why is the elasticity higher in the long run than the short run? What do we think? Which of these answers is correct? Pete's come in with B, C, and D. Bethany argues B, C, D. Anna's not sure. Daniel, he's just started year 12 and he's already talking about loss aversion and ceteris paribus. Daniel is obviously an economist worth watching in the weeks and months ahead. Amac's gone for BCD. Tristran's gone for BCD. Still waiting for the correct answer. If you go with BCD, you're pretty close. Well, a lot of people are saying BCD. Let's go through the answer together. Is it okay with you? We think all of them are right. Well, B, C, and D are right, because in the long run, of course, you can invest in new machinery, new plant and equipment, and you can achieve economies of scale. New firms can enter the market. Firms can change the scale. A is also right, because in the long run, if you need skilled labour in the construction sector, for example, the training time, the time it takes to train new workers and get them active in an occupation, obviously in the long run, you've got more opportunity to do that. Whereas in the short run, as we know, many firms, many businesses are suffering from labour shortages, in particular shortages of skilled labour, which makes the elasticity of supply of their products less elastic. Question number 3. Lots to read here, so I'll take this nice and slowly. Real median incomes rose by 1.4% in 2019, while demand for beauty treatments grew by 1.6%. What does this suggest about the nature of demand for beauty treatments? Incomes rose in real terms by 1.4%. Demand for beauty treatments, and I must have, as you know, I spend a lot of money on these kind of things. That grew by 1.6% over the same period. What does that tell you about the nature of demand? What do we think? What do we think on this one? How many of those statements are right? There's quite a bit to read there. Yeah, okay, I was talking about the previous answer. Labour is something that can't be changed easily in the short run. Skilled labour in particular has an inelastic supply. But in the long run, hopefully you can improve training, human capital programs, apprenticeship schemes, migration policy can make the supply more elastic. Keras has gone for C and D. Joshua thinks C and D. Let's see what the answer is. Correct answer here is C. Income elasticity is positive. Incomes went up, demand went up, but it's not D because well, wait a minute. Let's think of the number here. The elasticity is actually more than 1, isn't it? So it's just over 1. So in fact, you could make a case for saying it's just income elastic. So I can see why you might have said D. I think that you can make a case for saying there should be C and D. The demand for beauty treatment and incomes basically rose by the same amount, so rounding error should give an income elasticity of 1, but technically you're right, demand grew a little bit faster than real income over the period. So well done on that. Back to Nikki.
Okay, now we're going to do crack the code. Can you crack the code? So we want you to put these items in order of their price elasticity of demand, starting with the item you consider to have the value closest to 0. So the most price inelastic, put that first, put that letter first, and then go down the list from the most price inelastic to the most price elastic. So let's have a look and see what we're getting some answers. Hi, Ruben. Nice to see you. Okay, let's have your answers to the crack the code. I want you to put them in order of most price inelastic first. So Sheila's come in with D, E, B, C, A. D. So bread first, then Asda toothpaste. Who else is? Everybody's coming in with bread first. Ruben, is it garlic bread? It could be if you want it to. Nico says bread first and toothpaste second. Okay, so we're getting lots and lots of answers in here. D is definitely the first one. John, can we have a look at what we think the code is? Now, I have, if you listen carefully, said what we think the code is, and some of you are going to probably go, what? When you look at this, but let me explain. We've put bread first, we've put champagne second, washing machine third, lottery ticket, and then Asda toothpaste. So bread, because it's a general word. If it said Hovis brown bread, it would be a brand, so it would be more price elastic. Champagne, we figured, well, people like to show off with champagne. They like to show off with the label. So actually, making it quite expensive, the people who kind of buy champagne might actually have quite a bit of money and not worry too much about whether the price goes up a pound or two for a bottle. Washing machine next, because it takes a large proportion of your income. Lottery ticket, not a necessity. As to toothpaste, we have put right at the most price elastic because there are so many substitutes to as to toothpaste. As I say, the little note there, these are our suggested answers, so you can argue with us. Please go ahead. Right, now we want you, and this is actually really important, this slide. This might even be the most important slide this evening because students forget about price elasticity of supply and they forget to actually revise it. And so examiners love examining it because they know that students don't often revise it well enough. So we want these in order of price elasticity of supply. So the value closest to zero first, the most inelastic, going up to the most elastic. So we want the one that is unlikely to change in supply in the short run when the market price changes. What can't we suddenly supply more of if the market price changes? So let's have a look. Mithil says B, wheat is first. Sheila says also wheat is first. So does Amy. Let's see if anybody else thinks anything. Charlie again thinks wheat. So I want you to have a look at those again. How long does each one take to produce? So again, we might be arguing with you in the chat box all evening. I'm here all evening, happy to. So let's have a look at the answer. What do we think? We have put Hollywood movie first because they can sometimes take years to actually create. We've put wheat second. You're absolutely spot on, everybody, with wheat because it takes a whole year. You plant it now, you wait till next summer. Bedding plants, ditto. They take quite a few months to actually grow. Bedding plants are those ones you see in the summer in people's gardens or on roundabouts. HB pencils. Now, you could argue with me you need to grow a tree before you make a pencil, but I think we're being sensible here. And then white paper is the most elastic, the most responsive to a market price. If market price went up, lots and lots of firms could produce more A4 white paper pretty quickly. Okay, hand back to Geoff.
Yeah, if there was a movie about Tutor to You, Nikki, who would play Jim and Geoff? What do you reckon? Maybe some.
Don't tempt me.
No, I'm not going to ask you. If you want to post answers in the chat window, we'll give a shout out to the best answers. If there was a Tutor to You movie, who would play Jim and Geoff? Answers, please, in the chat window. Most people who got A4 pencils ahead of A4 paper, that's it. There were some pretty sharp answers in there this evening.
Oh, well done,
Example,
well done.
one of the things we found from last year, students were getting a little bit flaky on formulae. So we've got some formulae, some questions. Can you rearrange the following formulae in a quantitative skills paper? What have we got here? Jeff Bezos for Jeff. You're very, very kind, Charlie. Great answer. Maybe the subject. So here's the formula for cross price elasticity. XED equals the percentage change in quantity demand for A divided by percentage change in the price of B. Can you please rearrange the formula? Just type it into the chat window. Who can be first to show percentage change in the quantity demanded for A? Anna says, I don't know any formula there, Anna. Maybe you haven't quite come up on elasticities. Don't worry. Tends to be taught in year 12 just around now into October after half term, maybe. Mary's come in very quickly, and Pete and Karis. Oh, Greg Davis for Geoff, says Karis. Thanks for coming, Karis. Appreciate that. Here we go. Here's the answer coming up. Can you rearrange the formula? Quantity demand for percentage change in demand for A is the cross price elasticity times by the change in the price of B. So you get the idea. Sometimes they'll give you, well, they'll always give you 2 bits of information. The question is about the 3rd bit. So you just have to be confident and practiced in rearranging the formula. Here's the next one. Utility. Marginal utility is the change in utility from consuming the next unit. By the way, I used to have a very, very funny joke about the law of diminishing utility. I don't tell it more than once because it's just not as funny 2nd or 3rd time around. Can you rearrange the formula to show the change in quantity, please? So rearrange that formula to show the change in quantity. Marginal utility is the change in total utility divided by the change in quantity. What is the rearranged formula there for that one? What do you think here? Answers coming through. Ruben says, tell us, Geoff. No, it's not. It's just not as fun as it used to be, Ruben. Karis is very, very quick, very good. Superb answers. Yep, here we go. Coming through. Change in quantity is the change in total utility divided by the marginal utility. Those of you in year 12, you may have come across utility theory. It's the marginal utility is the change in satisfaction from the next unit you consume, that next pizza, that next time you go see a film at the cinema, whatever it is, marginal utility. Right, to finish with, great answers by the way tonight. We're going to go back to Nikki with the value wheel.
Okay, so as I said earlier, price elasticity of supply not revised very well. One of the most underused evaluation tools is elasticity. It can be used right the way through micro and even in macro, so don't ignore it. So what we're going to do here is give you a student response to an essay question. We're going to then spin the evalu wheel and we're going to ask you to come up with a line of evaluation to that student essay using one of those aspects at the bottom there of the screen for evaluation. So let's have a look at the student argument. The student argument is the UK government has extended its deadline of banning the sale of petrol cars from 2030 to 2035. You probably heard this in the news in the last fortnight or so. They will have to find alternative strategies for reducing the demand and use of cars with combustion engines. So by extending this deadline, they're going to have to find some other way of getting us to consume fewer cars with combustion engines. So let's spin the wheel, please, John. Right, we've come up with taxes. Now we want you to come up with a line of evaluation about the importance of elasticities on the impact of the use of taxation policy. So if you're looking at me thinking, what is she talking about? Let me give you a little bit of a hint. At the moment, an alternative strategy for reducing demand for cars using combustion engines is, of course, to tax petrol and diesel. We want you to come up with a line in the chat box saying how important is elasticity on the impact of that taxation policy in reducing demand for cars. Is it any good? Is it working? That taxation policy to reduce the demand for cars. So try and use elasticities in your response. So, what have we got? Pete is worrying about inheritance tax. So Sheila, the more elastic the good, the more effective the tax will be, since suppliers won't be able to pass on to consumers. Perfect. Very, very well done. Olivia, yes, it does work, but what we want you to evaluate is how well does it work? Does it work really, really well, or does it not work very, very well? Because using elasticity in there somewhere. So Anna, well done covering equilibrium, but let's see if we can have so Nico, what we're saying here, government can raise taxes to reduce demand for combustion cars because the cross elasticity demand is greater than zero, so electric cars are substitutes and people are more likely to buy electric. Okay, got some good thoughts in there. That's excellent. So what we're looking for, John, if you can give us our answer. What is the importance of elasticity? So in the short run, what a fantastic way to start your evaluation. In the short run, the use of increased duties has little impact on the demand for petrol because it's relatively price inelastic. However, as the price of electric cars falls and the availability of more charging stations increases, the demand for petrol cars become more price elastic, and a taxation policy will have more impact. So, Anna, quick response. There's two definitions: short run, long run. Some are more technical. If you're looking at micro in upper sixth, then you'll have short run, long run proper definitions. In this case, we're just talking about in the next 6 months, year, 18 months. Okay. So it can be flexible using those phrases, short run and long run. Yes, AMAC has got it absolutely right. A short run has at least one fixed factor of production. I'm getting sidetracked. We should be talking about elasticities and taxation. Okay, thank you, John. I'm going to hand back to you.
Oh, brilliant. Thank you so much, Nikki. And thank you to Geoff. And thank you most of all to all of those people who have joined in tonight with some wonderful answers. Not only answers to the economics questions we've been posing, but that brilliant question that Geoff just asked about naming the film and the actors for Tutor to You. I suspect that one could keep going all night, Geoff. But some great answers and great participation. What a wonderful way to start this little series then. Remember, we're going to carry this on for the next 2 months probably. So next week we're looking at macroeconomic performance. So we're shifting across to macroeconomics away from the microeconomic side of things. So we'll be thinking about what is it that we like to measure in the macroeconomic area and what are we expecting from those indicators. Brilliant stuff. Thanks again. Just a quick reminder then that the PowerPoint that we've been using tonight will be available for download as soon as we've finished this live stream. And of course we have been recording this so you can watch it all over again if you want to. Many thanks to Geoff. Many thanks to Nikki as well. And we'll see you all again very, very soon. Goodbye, everybody.
Bye.